Alright guys, Tom here and welcome to a new video, and today I'm doing my review of the WWE Elimination Chamber 2014 show, and this was live on pay-per-view. It's just finished just over 12 minutes ago. It's currently 12 past 4 in the morning in the UK. I'm doing a review of the pay-per-view. I always do a review of every single pay-per-view on my channel around an hour after the show. Do subscribe to my channel. I pretty much review every single show that is put on by the WWE, especially every pay-per-view. I've reviewed every single pay-per-view since Money in the Bank 2013. Do subscribe. I do reviews of everything, results, anything like that. You're gonna love my channel if you're a WWE fan. I'm nearly on 21,000 subscribers. Nearly, we're around 100 off, so it'll be great to get it just after this video goes up on YouTube. But remember, this is a review, so I'd love to get you guys' opinion on the show as well as mine. So get down there in the comment section and give me your thoughts on this show, the Elimination Chamber 2014 pay-per-view, which came from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we're going to kick off this Elimination Chamber 2014 review and talk about the kickoff show. Now, the kickoff show was a bit of an iffy one this time. I did my my predictions for every single match, and this was really not the match I was looking forward to. It was Ryback and Curtis Axel teaming up to take on the former tag team champions Cody Rhodes and Goldust, and to be honest, it really wasn't a match anybody could really get excited about. There was no build towards it whatsoever. It was literally pick two teams to go up against each other and waste around 10 minutes on the kickoff show. Nobody would be interested in this match. They knew that it wasn't going to get any extra people on the kickoff show. It doesn't make them any money whatsoever. So really, they just picked two tag teams to have a match. Wasn't going to be anything interesting whatsoever. Nobody's really a fan of Ryback and Curtis Axel. They honestly don't seem like a tag team whatsoever. They've literally thrown these guys into a team so they can utilize them and use them instead of having them sit at the back and not using them whatsoever. They don't seem like a tag team, and Cody Rhodes and Goldust have not had a great last month whatsoever. So really, this match really wasn't anything to get excited about whatsoever. Cody Rhodes and Goldust haven't had a very good few weeks, and Ryback and Curtis Axel really don't have any fans whatsoever. Nobody's really interested in Curtis Axel and Ryback whatsoever. They don't seem like a team. So honestly, the kickoff show didn't really seem like much of a draw to me. It was the only times in my WWE life that I've ever considered not watching the kickoff show. Ever since they did the kickoff show around Mania time at WrestleMania 28, I've always keyed in and watched the kickoff shows, because to me, if I start watching a show midway through or I'd miss the kickoff show, it would just feel like I'd missed something. And if I'd ever missed the kickoff show, it would probably be a good match. So I always watch the kickoff show. I always wake up at around midnight and go and watch the kickoff show at 12:30, because honestly, if I miss it, it'll probably end up being a good match. But usually, 9 times out of 10, it's usually a match which is a throwaway match which I'll forget in 5 minutes. And yet again, it was another lame-ass kickoff show. But to be honest, we're going to have to talk about the panel first before I get into the match. And honestly, this is probably one of the worst panels they have had so far on the kickoff shows. They started doing these kickoff shows around 2 years ago, and honestly, this is probably one of the worst panels I think they've had in these 2 years. It was Mark Henry, Rey Mysterio, and The Miz. Three guys which really nobody really cares about anymore. I mean, you've got Mark Henry, who really has only just came back. He had an iffy match against Dean Ambrose for the US title, and ever since then, making his return for the 1000th time, really didn't really do anything. He never really hit it off in the ring. He hasn't done anything since he came back in the last 2 weeks, so they've really thrown him on the kickoff show to use him. I mean, he returned. They even did a slight promo for Mark Henry returning 2 weeks ago, and now they've slammed him on the kickoff show. And honestly, he looked completely out of place. He didn't know what he was saying. There was a few times where he stuttered on his words. There's a few times where he needed help from The Miz especially to help out what he was saying, but to be honest, he looked lost. He looked very uncomfortable, and honestly, what he was saying just didn't make sense. There was just really random things coming out of him, and honestly, Mark Henry looked lost on the panel. The Miz was actually completely different to my opinion on Mark Henry. The Miz looked so comfortable. He was confident. He was cocky. He was sassy. He was entertaining. He was interesting to listen to. The Miz was definitely probably a good guy to have on the kickoff show. But yet again, The Miz is probably one of the most disliked faces in the WWE. So to start off, you've got Mark Henry, who really hasn't been entertaining for the last few years of his career. Came back 2 weeks ago, really hasn't done anything since coming back. So they've really thrown him onto the kickoff show. And honestly, people don't care about Mark Henry's career anymore. He's dead. He's not going to do anything much in the WWE anymore. And The Miz, he's probably one of the most hated faces in the WWE. So people really dislike this guy. They don't like his work. They find him annoying. So they've got another guy that people don't really like and don't really care about on the kickoff show panel. So you're less likely to listen about him. You're less likely to be interested about what they're saying. It's less likely to make people engaged in what they're saying. So they're less likely to buy the show. But saying that, I don't think Miz did a good job at hyping up the matches. He was very exciting and very intense with what he was saying. So to me, I thought The Miz was actually an okay pick to be on the kickoff show panel. He was interesting, but apart from that, people don't like The Miz. People are interested in Mark Henry. And then you've got Rey Mysterio, who, to be honest, should really put his boots away. I think he gets too many injuries. I mean, this guy really isn't going to be around for much longer. So it did really look like they just thrown him on the panel as well. I mean, he's an old-timer. I guess he has quite a lot of fans. But really, people aren't really interested in Rey Mysterio anymore, are they? So to me, the panel looked like you'd got three guys who nobody really cared about, who really didn't look that great, except The Miz, about what they were talking to. Rey Mysterio looked slightly uncomfortable, was very quiet, not a very confident character. Mark Henry stuttered a lot, had a lot of awkward silences when he was talking. The only guy which looked comfortable was The Miz. Apart from that, you've still got three guys which people don't really care about anymore. So to me, the kickoff panel was a very poor panel. I mean, compared to the Royal Rumble one where you had Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you also had Shawn Michaels, and then I believe you had Mick Foley, I think it was. I honestly can't remember, but you definitely had three awesome guys on the Royal Rumble, and it was a complete contrast that he had on the actual kickoff show panel for Elimination 2014. And there's rumours, well, there's actually confirmation now that Hulk Hogan's coming back to WrestleMania 30 to host it, and he might even be on tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw. There's rumours of Taker coming back. You've got all these big names like Paul Heyman being on the NXT pay-per-view on Thursday. You've got Ric Flair. You've got JR. You've got all these guys, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, people like these that have, Jake the Snake Roberts, who have made comebacks in the last few weeks. You've got all these people and all these big names and big stars which you'd want to keep bringing back because the WWE Network comes out in 12 hours today. You've got to put it out there. You've got to advertise the WWE like hell. You've got to get big names onto something like the kickoff show panel. But you had three guys which really nobody cares about, and three guys which really didn't do much on the panel. They looked awkward as hell except The Miz. So to me, they dropped the ball there. They had three people who nobody cares about when they could quite easily have signed three top guys to do the kickoff show panel. I mean, yes, maybe not so many people even care about the panel, but they even bring these guys out to talk during the pay-per-view numerous times, so they obviously care about what these guys say. Obviously people listen to what they say. So having Mark Henry, Rey Mysterio and The Miz on there when the WWE Network comes out in 12 hours, was that the great option when you could easily have put three top guys on there, like a Shawn Michaels, like a Mick Foley, like the Jake the Snake Roberts, you know, something like that, and you had these three guys who really mean nothing to fans at all. So really, you're not going to listen to what they're saying, and you're probably not going to buy the pay-per-view if you're not really interested in what they're advertising. But apart from that, meh. I didn't really like the panel. Worst panel I've seen in the last 2 years. But the match itself was Cody Rhodes and Goldust going up against Ryback and Curtis Axel. And to be honest, this will be one of the worst matches, one of the most meaningless matches you will see on a kickoff show match. I mean, it's Ryback and Curtis Axel, who, like I've touched on before, really don't look like a tag team. It just looks like they've thrown these guys together to use them because they'd just be stuck at the back if they didn't use them. And to be honest, you've got Goldust and Cody Rhodes, who lost their titles at the Royal Rumble on the kickoff show, which arguably should have been on the pay-per-view rather than the kickoff show. It's a tag team title belt. It should have been on the full show. but it was on the kickoff show. They lost the titles on the kickoff show. To me, them being on the kickoff show was a bit of a kick in the mouth, to be honest. I mean, it was a tag team title match. To put them on the kickoff show was a bit disheartening to fans. It was a bit strange that you had the New Age Outlaws returning to a pay-per-view for the tag team titles against Cody Rhodes and Goldust, who have looked great in the last few months, on the kickoff show. It did definitely downgrade the match and downgrade the titles, so for them to lose on the kickoff show and even to be booked on the kickoff show was a bit disheartening and a bit of momentum loss for Cody Rhodes and Goldust. And for a month later to yet again be booked on the kickoff show against now Ryback and Curtis Axel was really a big kick in the mouth, and it's a big contrast to what they were doing at the Royal Rumble, defending the titles, and now they're facing Ryback and Curtis Axel, who don't even seem like a tag team, which is a huge loss for Cody Rhodes and Goldust. But really, they did okay work. I mean, it's nothing much more than a Raw match you'll see or a Friday Night SmackDown match. Entertainment-wise, it wasn't anything special whatsoever. You're going to forget a lot about this, a lot about the pay-per-view you will forget, but this especially, I honestly can't remember anything they did in this match at all. There really wasn't anything that spectacular. There was only two decent moments during the match. One of them was where Cody Rhodes and Goldust did two moves at the same time, which was great. One moment, Cody Rhodes jumped off the turnbuckle onto the outside onto one of Ryback or Curtis Axel, and at the same time Goldust did a 360 spin onto the outside from the apron onto the outside onto either Ryback and Curtis Axel. That was done at the same time. It was awesome. The crowd was going mental for that spot. Great moment, nice. The other moment was Cody Rhodes doing a disaster kick off the steel steps on the outside onto Ryback. Another great moment. And then, apart from that, the match itself was quite boring. There was nothing entertaining whatsoever. They even brought out Curtis Axel's father, Larry the Axe Hennig, and to be honest, I don't know why, because he didn't do anything during the match. They didn't have any camera work on him. He didn't help Curtis Axel whatsoever. I mean, it was Minneapolis, Minnesota, Curtis Axel's hometown, so I can understand why they brought this guy out. It's Curtis Axel's grandfather, but surely they should be trying any way possible for Curtis Axel not to get a face reaction. I mean, he's a heel, he's supposed to be booed, but they bring out his grandfather, who is a legend, and that's supposedly supposed to make him even more over with the crowd. That should be giving him a face reaction, but they surely should be trying any way possible for him not to get cheered. But when this guy came out, he didn't do anything. He honestly just stood there awkwardly and didn't do anything whatsoever. I mean, it was a surprise for him to come out, and he wasn't even advertised to come out. I mean, surely they should have advertised this before. There was no bite into this match for a start off, so surely they should have been trying any way possible to make people interested into tuning into the kickoff show. I mean, I said before, I was even considering not watching this match. The fact that they could have advertised that Larry the Axe Hennig was coming out and would have been at the side of Curtis Axel would have been a nice opportunity to cash in on having him come out and make more people watch it. But honestly, they didn't cash in on this. They didn't advertise that he'd be coming out, so it was a surprise when he came out. But he honestly didn't do anything the whole way through the match. And the only thing that it helped do was make Curtis Axel get even more of a face reaction. I mean, they should have been trying any way possible not to give him a face reaction. But to me, bringing a manager out as a surprise, a legend, his grandfather, makes you think, oh, you should be cheering this guy. You've brought out a top legend, cheer this guy. But he's a heel. It didn't make sense to bring out a manager, his grandfather, Larry the Axe Hennig. It just didn't make sense to bring this guy out. He didn't do anything whatsoever. What was the point? But I mean, the match itself was boring. There wasn't anything entertaining except for them two spots I've already discussed. The ending to the match was actually pretty good. Apart from that, nothing really that memorable. What happened was Goldust took out Ryback into the barricade, and then in the ring, Curtis Axel went for his finishing move, which really hasn't even been given a name yet, and then some great chemistry and a nice little sequence between Curtis Axel and Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes reversed that finisher into the crossroads and got the 1, 2, 3 pin. Nice work by Cody Rhodes to reverse that, but honestly, a clean victory for Cody Rhodes and Goldust. Some nice momentum for Cody Rhodes and Goldust. I mean, anything more than a win here would have been a shame. I think it was a big shame that these guys weren't even on the actual show. They were downgraded to the kickoff show for the second time in a row. They defended the titles on Royal Rumble, but for them to be on the kickoff show again, even after losing the tag team titles at the Royal Rumble on the kickoff show, and then losing in a cage match, getting F5'd by Brock Lesnar. He really hasn't been a good month for the Rhodes brothers. So for them to be on the kickoff show again, anything less than a win would have been a huge shame and would have lost a lot of momentum. There is rumours these people, Cody Rhodes and Goldust, may face each other at WrestleMania 30. It's a good possibility, so you really should be building these guys up for a good WrestleMania 30 moment. So anything less than a win would have been a shame. Great momentum for Cody Rhodes, the young guy, especially him getting the win. It would have been strange for Goldust to get the win here, especially Cody Rhodes, the younger guy. They also gave them the titles in the first place to push Cody Rhodes. So it's nice for him to pick up the win. So for me, the match itself wasn't memorable whatsoever. The ending was a nice little sequence. There was two little nice spots during there. Just still surprised where they brought out Curtis Axel's grandfather during this match when he didn't even do anything. He just looked really, really awkward. Curtis Axel got a face reaction because he was from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Still surprised they didn't even bother trying to cut them reactions out because he is a heel. But apart from that, it's nice to see Curtis Axel getting a slight reaction because he never gets one anyway. But apart from that, nothing memorable about this match. Something you'll forget in about 5 minutes. What about me? I'll give it a 6 out of 10. So that was that. The kickoff show had ended. And the first match we actually got was on the show, the pay-per-view, was Big E Langston defeating Jack Swagger. Now, this whole card was very, very easy to predict, and I think this was probably one of the easiest matches to predict, was Big E Langston to retain his Intercontinental Championship. Now, the build towards this match was a bit iffy. I mean, Jack Swagger won a fatal 4-way match, and apart from that, there was only really a little bit of build that went on towards this match on Monday Night Raw. Apart from that, there wasn't really a lot of build towards this match. I wasn't really too excited, so I was quite surprised that this match started off the pay-per-view. I mean, it's an Intercontinental Championship match. There's been barely any build towards this match. I'm surprised people even care about this match. So for this to be the opener of the pay-per-view was quite surprising because this match could have easily been shitted on by fans. I mean, there's been so many moments this year where fans have hijacked a show, especially at the Royal Rumble, that a lame opener like this could have been easily flooded with CM Punk chants and stuff like that, and boos and Bautista chants and stuff like that, and Daniel Bryan and yes chants, that this could easily have been flooded with them. It could have easily been hijacked. I mean, it was a meaningless match. Everybody knew what the outcome would be. They booed when Big E Langston was about to win. People knew the outcome. It was just a meaningless match. Anything more than an entertaining match would have been a shame. I mean, it could easily have been hijacked by boos, so it needed to be an entertaining match. I was just surprised that they used this match as the opener. I mean, it was an icy match which had no build. Two guys who really didn't have anything to do with each other until the last 2 weeks when Jack Swagger won the Fatal 4-Way match. I mean, it was a filler match, a throwaway match. This is the opener. Really didn't feel special at all. Really could have been a possibility that it could have got shit on by fans. But really, I'm glad it wasn't because it was actually a pretty good match by Big E and Jack Swagger. Now, Jack Swagger has a big amateur wrestling background. Big E's a big weightlifter, so this was actually a good Clash of the Titans match. Big guys who did put on a decent match. Now, the big moment of this match was when Big E speared Jack Swagger out onto the outside. There was a few nice throws by each guy, some nice belly-to-bellies. Quite an entertaining match, some nice fast-paced, energetic wrestling. To be honest, Jack Swagger did look quite sloppy during this match. There's a few moments where he tried to toss Big E Langston off the top rope, made it a little bit sloppy. He tries to leg drop Big E Langston and it did look quite sloppy. I think he missed his head and actually hit his shoulder. He rushed that a little bit. There was a lot of talking during this match. You could hear each guy talking quite a lot during this match. But apart from that, some slight sloppiness from Jack Swagger. I can't really take it away from these guys. They did put on a decent match from a match which really was built out of nothing. It was dealt as a bit of a filler match. You all knew that it was going to be a predictable match. Big E is going all the way up until WrestleMania 30 at least with them titles. I don't know if he's going to retain at WrestleMania 30, but anything more than going up to WrestleMania 30 with them titles would have seemed like a bit of a failed title run because he honestly hasn't done anything to impress me up until this point. And yet again, gets another filler match with the IC belt. And yet again, still a slightly entertaining match. Nothing too spectacular. Still an okay IC match. But to be honest, it was okay. It wasn't anything too spectacular. It's not going to be something you're going to remember. Really, me thinking about it, the only thing I remember was the spear onto the outside. Apart from that, there was a few sloppy throws from Jack Swagger. The match itself, slightly pacey. Apart from that, average, just above average, nothing too spectacular, but still surprised it was the opener, but gladly it was an okay match and nothing too much that the crowd could shit on. But the ending to itself was actually pretty good as well. Jack Swagger went for the angle lock and Biggie Langston was slightly in trouble. He managed to jump up, do an enziguri, which is quite good for a guy that's a big guy, quite athletic maneuver to do. And then Biggie Langston from the enziguri, Jack Swagger bounced off the ropes and he picked him up for the big ending and pinned him 1, 2, 3. To be honest, anything more than a Biggie Langston win would have been quite surprising. It was obvious he was retaining. He's going all the way up until WrestleMania 30 with that belt. He's still a top face. I mean, they used Zeb Coulter to put over Biggie as a face there. Jack Swagger kept rolling out the ring to put him over as a heel. Jack Swagger does get a face reaction at times because people can see his potential. But Biggie was put over as a face using Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger rolling out the ring. But to be honest, this match was okay. There was a nice ending with the enziguri and the Biggie ending out of nowhere. There was a nice spear by Biggie onto Jack Swagger outside the ring. There's a few nice throws here or there, some nice pacing. I'm going to shut up about this match because there really isn't a lot more to say about it. A little bit better than average. So I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10. The next match would be the New Age Outlaws defeating the Usos. Now, I thought this one was a bit of a strange one. I mean, it was a very, very disappointing ending to this match. The New Age Outlaws won with a roll-up. Now, Billy Gunn rolled up one of the Usos in the ring. And I thought it was quite surprising that they actually put the Usos into a tag team title match so early up until WrestleMania 30. I think that the Usos have been... They've been in the WWE for a good 2 to 3 years, and they've always been a tag team. They've never done singles wrestling. They've always been the same tag team, and month by month, up until the Elimination Chamber, they've been getting over and over. They're very energetic. They've got a lot of charisma in the ring, and they can go very, very far. So when they actually do win the tag team titles, this 3 years that they're building themselves up very, very well, when they do win their tag team titles, it's going to be a big moment. It's going to be a WrestleMania moment. So for the fact to put the Usos in a tag team titles match at Elimination Chamber did feel like quite a strange one, considering WrestleMania 30 is only just around the corner. But also, I couldn't see the New Age Outlaws losing the titles, considering that they've only just won them at the Royal Rumble. It would seem like a bit of a lame, it would seem kind of lame bringing them back just for them to lose the title straight away. It wouldn't really seem like a big title run, and it also wouldn't seem like a big moment for the Usos because it feels more like a WrestleMania 30 moment. And also, this match wasn't really built that well. It was only built in the last week. They only faced each other in little matches on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown this week. There's a lot more juice to this feud that can be used. It's next generation versus old generation. Rikishi, their father, was a tag team champion, so I definitely think there's more bite to this feud that they could use for a WrestleMania 30 match. So I can definitely see a possibility of them doing this match at WrestleMania 30 again. Also, Elimination Chamber isn't really that big of a pay-per-view, so if the Usos were going to win it at the Elimination Chamber, it just wouldn't feel as much of a special moment as what they could really do at WrestleMania 30. So I was strange to think that they'd put the Usos in this match, and I would have been surprised if the Usos won. But I also thought it would have been a big shame if the Usos took a pinfall, because honestly, they're so over at the moment that it would have been a big shame for them to take a pinfall and lose a little bit of momentum. So for the fact that they got a roll-up pin on the Usos wasn't too bad. I mean, a roll-up doesn't lose a lot of momentum compared to being in the middle of the ring. I mean, the Usos weren't in the middle of the ring when they got pinned, but they still lost. They still took a pinfall. Now, it's interesting to see that pins still matter. I mean, a lot of people think of the fact that as soon as somebody hits their finisher maneuver, it's over. But it's still interesting to think that it's the pin that wins the match instead of a big ending or something like an RKO. But to be honest, I felt a bit dissatisfied seeing that the Usos got rolled up. I mean, I'm always dissatisfied when you get a roll-up pin on a pay-per-view. It's the same when somebody gets a distraction win, like in the main event of this pay-per-view, and they get the win. It just feels like something that should be happening on a Monday Night Raw and a Friday Night SmackDown, rather than a show that people pay for. It just doesn't seem like a clean win. It doesn't seem like a satisfying win when somebody gets rolled up for a victory on a pay-per-view. I just felt dissatisfied after the match and just not happy. I just felt like it just didn't feel like a good ending. It just felt like a bad taste in my mouth. I thought, well, I would have much rather seen a clean ending than a roll-up win. Even though the Usos would have lost more momentum from a clean win, it would have felt like a better ending. It just felt like a bit of a dead ending. The crowd really didn't react from the roll-up pin. I also thought the actual match quality really didn't get entertaining. It really wasn't a very entertaining match, and I thought it could have been a much better entertaining match. I mean, the New Age Outlaws and the Usos could be a very entertaining match, and it really wasn't. So it did start getting entertaining up until the last 2 minutes of the match, and the fact that they ended it so quickly when it was actually getting quite entertaining was quite surprising. I honestly think they could easily have done a 5 minute more onto this match. They easily could have added 5 minutes more onto this match, because honestly, it did start quickening up the pace 2 minutes before the ending to this match. And honestly, the fact that it started getting good 2 minutes before the roll-up, and then the roll-up triggered, and I was like, meh. I was dissatisfied, because I thought I was just getting a sense of how good this match could be, and then the roll-up happened. I was like, meh. You could have really have done 5 minutes more of that entertaining-wise, because it really was getting good. And then they just did the roll-up when they could have done maybe 5 minutes more of what they were doing, because the pace was quickening. They didn't really hit any decent spot during this match, and I thought they could. Honestly, there was really no decent spot during this match. The pacing only happened, it only got fast during the last 2 minutes, and then the roll-up happened. It wasn't satisfying whatsoever. It just felt like a dead finish. It just wasn't a decent finish. I mean, it's something you'd expect on a Monday Night Raw or a Friday Night SmackDown, not a show that people pay for, especially in a title match. But for me, I would have rather seen a disqualification ending. I mean, I'm still not sure what the New Age Outlaws are. I mean, they were getting booed during this match, but why? What have the New Age Outlaws done? The only thing they did was walk out on CM Punk, and that's it. I mean, apart from that, they really haven't done anything wrong. So I don't understand why people are booing them. Are these guys supposed to be heel? Are they supposed to be heel face? Are they supposed to be face? Are they just supposed to be, nothing? Are they just supposed to be in the middle? I mean, I don't know what these guys are. Are they heel or face? Now, they could possibly do the Usos versus the New Age Outlaws at WrestleMania 30. I'd still like to see that, because I think the Usos winning the tag team titles would be a WrestleMania 30 moment. And if they were going to do that, then it would obviously be against the New Age Outlaws. Or maybe if they do a triple threat tag match, they've done that in the past in the last few years. Or they could do a fatal 4-way match for the tag team titles. I mean, I can see the Usos winning at WrestleMania 30. But if you want to do that, you've got to have the New Age Outlaws. You've got to see what their gimmick is. If they're going to do the New Age Outlaws versus the Usos again and build this match up for 6 weeks, then you've got to have the New Age Outlaws the heels and the Usos the faces. You can't have 6 weeks of build without not knowing what the New Age Outlaws are. It's just not something people can grit their teeth into, and it's not something that a Mania crowd can react to when the New Age Outlaws aren't heel or face. To be honest, the WrestleMania crowd aren't going to boo it at the New Age Outlaws. So it's quite an iffy one. I'd be surprised if they did the New Age Outlaws versus the Usos again, considering the ending to this match was quite disappointing, and it was quite a disappointing match. But the Usos winning at WrestleMania 30 would be a good moment. It'll be interesting to see how they could do that, considering this match was a big disappointment. But as soon as the New Age Outlaws lose them titles, they're probably going to disappear. That's probably why they're keeping them around for the WWE Network. WrestleMania 30 brings some prestige back to the tag team titles. But ever since the New Age Outlaws won them titles, the tag team divisions kind of look dead. I mean, Ryback and Curtis Axel aren't looking great. Cody Rhodes and Goldust have lost a lot of momentum. Jack Swagger was in an IC title match. I mean, it didn't really make sense for him to win that match against Big E, but they still put him in a match because they couldn't put him in a tag match. Antonio Cesaro is in a tag team, but they put him in the main event. I mean, the Usos lost, even though they're really, really over. I mean, the Los Matadores have looked really bad since the month they debuted. I mean, the tag team division now isn't looking too great a month later since the New Age Outlaws won. And I honestly think them coming back has had a negative effect on the tag team division, because you've got some old-timers carrying the belts. Instead of having young guys fight for the belts, you've got old-timers who are running the shots. And the tag team division slowly died over the last month, and it's not good. And I think the Usos, as soon as they get their belts, would be good, and it could happen at WrestleMania. It just wasn't the time tonight. And sadly, they got the roll-up pin, which just felt dissatisfying, and I was left with a bad taste in my mouth. Honestly, can't wait till the New Age Outlaws drop their belts, because the tag team division's not looking great at the moment, and I honestly am not finding them that entertaining. I can't tell if they're heel or face. I don't think they're that beneficial to the WWE at the moment. I'd much like to see the Usos win the titles at WrestleMania moment, especially, I don't know what they're going to do with these guys so far. I'm not sure. The roll-up pin suggests that they could do this again at WrestleMania 30. What do you guys think? Would you like to see that again? I'm not particularly sure if I would. For me, I'll give this match a 5 out of 10. The ending sucked, and the actual match quality sucked as well. There was no real spots. The pacing quickened in the last 2 minutes, but still, they ended it way too fast. They could have had at least 5 to 10 more minutes in this match. Very disappointing for one of the matches I was most looking forward to on the card. So for me, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Another match I was actually quite looking forward to was Titus O'Neil against Darren Young. Yes, you will be surprised, I was looking forward to this match, because really, it was sink or swim for Titus O'Neil. Apparently he went to Vince McMahon and said, I want to go as a heel. I want to run as a heel, and Vince McMahon likes people who are ballsy, and he likes people who like to try and out as a heel, a bad guy. And Titus O'Neil certainly is a bad guy for me. He looks like a mean guy. He's muscly. He's definitely what Vince McMahon likes to see in guys. And honestly, it's sink or swim for Titus O'Neil. It could either work, or it couldn't work. And I think that the Primetime players have been around for 2 years, and the fact that they decided to do this feud at Elimination Chamber on a B-star pay-per-view, which really isn't seen like one of the top 4 pay-per-views, was a bit of a shame. I definitely think Titus O'Neil versus Darren Young's quite a big match. It's definitely something we haven't seen before. It's definitely something how they could create a decent feud out of it, but I don't think they were really given enough time to build this feud. I mean, the feud started on Friday Night SmackDown, which a lot of people don't even watch. I mean, the build-up has been kind of PG-ish. I mean, they ripped off the trousers of Titus O'Neil. It's been a bit lame. It's not really been that big of a build towards it. And to be honest, they only really started building it in the last 2 weeks. And I think it could have 6 weeks build. I think if you gave it 6 weeks to WrestleMania, it could have had a much better build. So it's a bit of a shame they threw this decent possible feud away at Elimination Chamber 2014, when it could have possibly been a WrestleMania 30 moment. And I think Titus O'Neil against Darren Young, for me, was a match we haven't seen before. It's something new, it's something fresh, it's 2 new talents who definitely do have a bright future in the WWE. The only thing I had with this match was that both guys deserved the win. I mean, it would have been a shame if Darren Young, it would have been a shame if Titus lost, or Darren lost. I mean, both guys deserved the win because both these guys can do well in the WWE. But it came down to the guy who turned heel, and that would have been Titus O'Neil. He's the guy that's changed his gimmick in this feud, and he was the guy that was definitely picking up the win here. The match was very, very predictable because Titus O'Neil was the one that turned heel on Darren Young. Yes, it was on Friday Night SmackDown, which wasn't a big moment. It wasn't a very memorable moment, because it wasn't Friday Night SmackDown. Would have been better if it was on a Monday Night Raw or even on a pay-per-view, so you can remember it. But on a Friday Night SmackDown, not too memorable. I think they shot themselves in the foot there and really didn't really get the feud off to a good start whatsoever, because the reaction wasn't great on the Friday Night SmackDown. So could people really get into it from the start off? I don't know, but Titus O'Neil was the guy that turned heel on Darren Young. So the fact that he changed his gimmick, he needed to make a big impact in his first match, and especially at a first pay-per-view match as a heel. So he was definitely winning here. He was the heel, but the crowd just shat on this match so much. I mean, the show so far wasn't looking too great. We were all pumped for the Wyatt family versus Shield match, so this match was acted like a bit of a filler match. I think the crowd was completely quiet for this match. They didn't react whatsoever. I thought they maybe could have done some good work between each other because they travelled together. Maybe they've worked in the ring together to train each other up. Maybe they had some good chemistry. But honestly, I really didn't see it here. I didn't see anything spectacular whatsoever. Entertaining-wise, it was okay, but nothing too spectacular. Nothing more than what you'll see on a Monday Night Raw or a Friday Night SmackDown. Considering we had Cena and Cesaro on Raw, which was spectacular, anything on this show was really not going to come anything near to that except Wyatt Family versus The Shield match. So, honestly, this was another match which really wasn't that entertaining, and I think they had a good feud on their hands here. It was a good possibility of a good feud, but it was acted more of a filler match between the tag match and the Wyatt Family and Shield match. The crowd didn't react for it. There wasn't any good spots. It wasn't entertaining. It had kind of a dead finish to it. It was just like, yeah, here it is, finisher 1, 2, 3, and the match was over. It really didn't have a spectacular finish. It just felt like a match, and that was it. Nothing really to it. And Titus O'Neil hit his finisher, and that was it. It really wasn't that much of a big match. I mean, it had the possibility of being a big match, and it really just didn't do anything for me. Huge disappointment. I mean, it's possibly been 2 years in the making, and to throw it away at Elimination Chamber in 5 minutes, nothing to it, not entertaining, not really a big finish, nothing. Just a match, and that was it. The build towards it was kind of lame. You just threw away a good match, and this is Titus O'Neil being given sink or swim, and he wins with a kind of a lame match. I mean, nobody reacted. It didn't feel that big. I'm worried. I'm very worried for Titus O'Neil, who's just turned heel in his first pay-per-view match against his ex-partner in Primetime Players, and it just felt like a lame match. It just didn't feel like anything, and it was just a huge disappointment. Sorry, but wow. A lot more disappointing than I thought it was. I was probably most excited for this match because it was something new, and it was probably the worst matches on the card. Huge filler match, nothing for it, huge disappointment. One match which definitely, so I'll give that a 4 out of 10. One match which definitely wasn't a huge disappointment was the Wyatt Family versus The Shield. Yes, another predictable match was the Wyatt Family winning. Now, they are the younger guys in the Wyatt Family versus The Shield. They came into the WWE after The Shield, so they are the younger guys. They need a little bit more help getting over. They need a little bit more help with momentum, because obviously there's possibilities now of them facing Cena at WrestleMania 30. So they definitely needed the win. They definitely need the momentum. I mean, you've got Super Cena. You've got to believe that somebody facing Cena at WrestleMania 30 has got a possibility of winning. And the only way you can guarantee that of people getting into that match is giving the opponents that are going up against Cena the most momentum possible going into that match. So the Wyatt Family, possibly facing Cena at WrestleMania 30, definitely needed the win here. They needed the momentum so much to face Cena when they do, that they definitely needed the win here, and they did. They won against The Shield, and by God, this match was fucking awesome. This is the match of the year so far, behind Daniel Bryan and the Bray Wyatt. I think maybe they tie, and maybe this match is slightly better. The Wyatt Family defeating The Shield. Now, that's quite a big statement, that Bray Wyatt's already had a match of the year, and then the Wyatt Family have now had maybe match of the year. Both times Bray Wyatt has been in the match. That's big props to Bray Wyatt. He's definitely entertaining. So, the Wyatt Family versus The Shield. The crowd were chanting, "This is awesome," before it even got started. There was the Wyatt Family, The Shield. It was just so good. There was so many chants. Let's go Wyatt. Let's go Shield. Just so many chants. Bray Wyatt chants. Everything like that. Roman Reigns chants. And that was before it even got started. This was the most over match on the card. Everybody was into it. There was nobody sitting down on the crowd. Everybody was so into it. There were so many good spots in this match. I think Seth Rollins flew outside the ring twice. He did a 360 outside the ring once. Luke Harper even flew out the ring once, which was absolutely amazing. There was so many good spots. I mean, there was a superplex off the top rope onto Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins freaking jumped onto his feet from it. He reversed it. He got superplexed, but he landed on his feet. how freaking good was that? He then got put through the announce table by Luke Harper and Eric Rowan from a chokeslam. Ambrose was fighting in the crowd. He went over the barricade. There was just everything in this match. It was freaking awesome. There was Superman punches. There was that huge move by Roman Reigns on the apron. It was freaking awesome. This match had everything you wanted. Awesome gimmicks, awesome build-up. The crowd loved it. Great spots, great pacing. I loved everybody in this match. You honestly could not go wrong. The best match on the card by far. Wow, best match of the year 2014. Might slightly be pushing it, but it definitely will be up there in the top 5. A fucking great match. Love this match. Best match of the night. 9 out of 10. Can't go wrong hardly at all. Now, the ending was great as well. Roman Reigns was going to spear Bray Wyatt, but he went for the Luke Harper spear because Luke Harper ran in the ring. Then Roman Reigns was distracted by spearing Luke Harper. Bray Wyatt pounced on Roman Reigns and then gave him a sister Abigail and pinned Roman Reigns. Now, the fact that it does seem like they're maybe turning Reigns face soon, and they are actually pushing Reigns, obviously. I mean, they gave him joint eliminations in Survivor Series history, and they gave him the top ever eliminations in Royal Rumble history. They're obviously pushing this guy. It doesn't take a genius to work out they're pushing this guy. He gets a face reaction. He finishes matches off. He gets the pins in matches. But for Bray Wyatt to pin Roman Reigns was a bit of a strange one. The fact that they're pushing Roman Reigns out of all 3 members of the Shield, and he was the one that takes the pin, was a bit of a strange one. I was surprised that Ambrose didn't take the pin, considering their teasing of breaking up the Shield, and Roman Reigns was the one that took the pin when he's probably the leader of the Shield. He's supposedly supposed to be the strongest member of the Shield, and he's the one taking the pin. Now, that does put over Bray Wyatt quite a lot, but it loses Roman Reigns' momentum quite a lot. I mean, he got the joint Survivor Series eliminations and the most Royal Rumble eliminations, and he's the one that takes the pin in this match. Damn, that makes Roman Reigns look quite weak. I mean, yeah, he got the spear before getting pinned, but he took the pin for the Shield, when it quite easily could have been Dean Ambrose. It could have been Seth Rollins. But Roman Reigns, the guy that's supposedly getting the biggest push out of everybody in the Shield, is quite a huge surprise that he was the one that got pinned. But, to be honest, the ending to the match is pretty good. I liked how he speared Luke Harper and then their sister Abigail came out of nowhere. But Roman Reigns getting pinned, quite surprising. But it does put over Bray Wyatt quite well that he takes out the big guy Roman Reigns for the pin. But gives some great momentum to the Wyatt family going into the Cena match at WrestleMania probably. So for me, overall, a great ending. It puts over the Wyatt family quite a lot. Does achieve quite a lot. The announce table, Spanish announce table getting smashed was great. The reversal from the superplex was great. Luke Harper jumping out the ring was great. Seth Rollins doing a 360 out the ring was great. Dean Ambrose getting outside the ring over the barricade was great. This match had it fucking all. It literally did. It had everything you wanted and more. Like, literally, it was so good. It was so good. Just surprised Roman Reigns took the pin out of everybody in the Shield. The guy that's supposed to be getting pushed at the moment, Roman Reigns. Now, the swerve for me was that the Shield lost cleanly. Now, I posted on Twitter before this twice, actually it might have even been 3 times, that I wouldn't be surprised if the Shield lost cleanly. Now, a lot of people tweeted me saying, I'd be disappointed if the Shield don't break up tonight on Elimination Chamber. A lot of people were saying it's a guarantee that the Shield are breaking up tonight on Elimination Chamber. I was like, no, that's way too obvious. They've been teasing it since Old School Raw, or even before. I think it might have been the last Raw. Yeah, it was the last Raw before 2014 that they were teasing of the Shield breaking up. Right, actually, it was even before that. It was like TLC, was it? That the Shield were breaking up, even before that. So they've been teasing at these guys breaking up. So I wasn't particularly sure why people thought that Elimination Chamber was the place to do it, because they've been teasing it so much that it really could have happened any time between them, really. Now, it didn't happen at Elimination Chamber, and I wasn't all too surprised about that, because they teased it so much going up to Elimination Chamber. I mean, it was proper face to face. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns were face to face at one point on Friday Night SmackDown the other week. So we went into Elimination Chamber with huge expectations that the Shield were breaking up. And the swerve for me was that they didn't break up and they actually lost cleanly. And I thought that threw a lot of people that they lost cleanly. And I wasn't that surprised, actually. I was like, don't be surprised if WWE do a swerve on you and the Shield lose cleanly, because everybody expects that the Shield are breaking up. These guys have been a tag team for nearly almost a year and a half. So when they do break up, it's going to be a big moment. And a big moment for me is something that's surprising. Would it been a big moment or surprising when the Shield broke up? No, because they've teased it so much. Now, if the Shield were going to break up tonight, it really wouldn't have felt like a big moment because I would have been expecting it. So I'm glad that they cleanly lost, because I don't know when they're going to do it now. It could be anywhere. I mean, the fact that they didn't do it tonight on Elimination Chamber might spell to people that they might never do it. So, to me, surprising that they didn't break them up, but also quite satisfying because it would have been way too obvious and wouldn't felt that special. But to me, I don't really want them to break up the Shield, because I mark out every time they enter. I went to Newcastle the other month when they entered, marking out. It's on my channel. I like these guys. These guys are the shit. So I don't want them to break up. They are, but I don't really want them to. So the fact that they didn't break up tonight is kind of good for me, because I want them to stick around as a trio forever. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't turn these guys or break them up tonight on Monday Night Raw. I mean, the WWE Network's out. It's the first show that will have the WWE Network. I mean, it'll bring in ratings. I mean, there's a possibility if there's Taker coming back, maybe Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake, Lita, stuff, people like that. And would that top it off with the Shield breaking up? Of course it would. I mean, you expected it tonight. It didn't happen. Will you expect it on tonight's Monday Night Raw? Maybe. But I think it'd be good. I think that'd top Monday Night Raw. I mean, you expected it to happen tonight and it didn't happen. Will you forget about it happening on tonight's Monday Night Raw? Maybe, and then it'll be a surprise. I don't know. But for me, the match itself was good. It was a swerve that they didn't break up. For me, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Now, the next match wasn't actually a match which was advertising. It was AJ Lee versus Cameron. And of course, AJ Lee gets the win. Now, I've been pissed off at the Divas division ever since AJ Lee retained against Natalya at TLC. Now, the two reasons they did that was that it was a bit of a swerve. Now, WWE knew people thought Natalya was winning at TLC, and she didn't. They swerved, and they said that they made AJ Lee win. The other reason they did it is because they want AJ Lee to be the longest Divas reigning champion, because they know she's the top dog that they've had in the last 10 years. So they wanted her to be the longest Divas title before they give it to somebody on the roster. They want her to be the top champion. They want her to have the longest title reign. And now that she's got it after TLC, after defeating Natalya, the Divas division's dead. Because Natalya was the only person I saw defeating AJ Lee. And the fact that Natalya lost, the Divas division is now dead. So any another match that AJ Lee has is just too predictable and not entertaining. Now, the crowd shitted on this match. There was CM Punk chants. I mean, what was the worst idea to bring out AJ Lee's girlfriend? Sorry, what am I on about? CM Punk's girlfriend, AJ Lee, in a match? That's just going to make CM Punk chants. How retarded were they to do this match? I mean, wow. I mean, it didn't even need to be added on the card because it was so predictable. AJ Lee was winning this match. I mean, did they think anything more than AJ Lee was going to win? Did they actually think we thought AJ Lee was losing here? With no build whatsoever. I mean, AJ Lee is the longest Divas title. She's got the longest Divas run. And when she loses that belt, which, by the way, I don't see happening in any time near the future because she's defeated literally anybody. But when she does lose that belt, it's going to be a big moment. And it's going to have big build towards it because it's going to be a big moment when that person defeats AJ Lee. And a big moment needs big build towards it. So the fact that this match had no build towards it, yet again, is too predictable. And it was a match they didn't need to add. They honestly didn't need to add this match. I mean, it would have made Raw even better tonight if they just added this match on Raw. I mean, it honestly didn't need to be there. Because they had CM Punk chants, it was too predictable. Cameron has nothing to do with AJ Lee whatsoever. AJ Lee, when she loses, is going to be in a big build match, and this just had no build whatsoever. It wasn't announced. This match was a throwaway match. It was a filler match. Didn't mean nothing. A waste of time. People pay to watch this show, and to have an AJ Lee versus Cameron match, which was okay. It was actually pretty good. They did some little nice work in that match. It was kind of neat. There wasn't any botching for a Divas match. It was a good Divas match, which was given a good 5 minutes, but my thing's bleeping off. But apart from that, I mean, it wasn't that... I mean, it didn't even need to be on the show. It really didn't make sense to have it on the show, and the fact that it was an okay match was okay. But the only thing that the reason why they put it on the show was so that they could do the ending, and that was Tamina Snuka hitting AJ Lee instead of Cameron. Now, that's probably going to set up a match between AJ Lee and Tamina Snuka at WrestleMania 30. Now, what happened was Cameron and AJ Lee were tussling outside the ring. Tamina Snuka went for the super kick for no reason to Cameron. It just didn't make sense for her to do that. And she hit AJ Lee instead. Now, Cameron threw AJ Lee in the ring, went for the pin, and then Tamina Snuka grabbed Cameron when she was going for the pin, which was pretty obvious she was probably going to win. That's what they made it out to look like. And then Cameron got tossed out of the ring by Tamina Snuka. It looked like she was bound to win the Divas title. And then the referee disqualified the match, and AJ Lee just looked angry because Tamina Snuka nearly cost her the Divas title, and that's how it ended. And to be honest, I didn't care for this match. It meant nothing whatsoever. But we did get a teaser of a possible Divas match at WrestleMania 30 between AJ Lee against Tamina Snuka. But I've said this in every review since they teamed up Tamina Snuka with AJ Lee. What does she give AJ Lee that AJ Lee doesn't do to herself? What does Tamina Snuka bring to the table? Let's just think about that. She doesn't do shit all for AJ Lee. She honestly doesn't do anything for AJ Lee. AJ Lee is the shit. AJ Lee has got everything for her. Tamina Snuka adds nothing to AJ Lee's repertoire. She doesn't give her any heat. She doesn't do anything. She honestly doesn't benefit AJ Lee whatsoever. So I've never understood why they paired Tamina Snuka up with AJ Lee. So the fact that they're possibly doing this match between AJ Lee and Tamina Snuka doesn't interest me one bit. I mean, I'm sorry to be negative that a feud... I'm shitting on a feud which probably hasn't even started yet. And I'm already shitting on it. But can you guys get into a match which... I really can't buy into that. I mean, I was never understood why they paired these guys up. And, well, I'm going to be interested in a feud between these two when it didn't even make sense for Tamina Snuka to do the super kick. I mean, AJ Lee wasn't in trouble in the match. She didn't really need a super kick to be hit. And she still retained her title. So it's like making a feud out of nothing, and also a feud people don't care about. I mean, who ever cared about Tamina Snuka? She's got a nice heritage, but honestly, she's not entertaining. She has no charisma, and she's not even that athletic. She's not that technical. She's just got strength. Are you going to be interested in an AJ Lee versus Tamina Snuka match? It was a tease. It might not happen, but it's very likely now. But for me, the match and then nothing. Another filler match. People pay to watch this show, and we get that. Meh. 3 out of 10. Let's move on to the next match, which was Batista versus Alberto Del Rio. Yes, of course, Batista was winning this match. I mean, how else are you going to believe that Batista is winning at WrestleMania without him going into that match with as much momentum as possible? He needs to go into that match with as many wins as possible. So obviously, Batista was going over in this match. Alberto Del Rio's job, of course, was to put over Batista in this match, and that's exactly what he did. But it didn't exactly go down as much as I thought it would. And I was actually quite impressed with the crowd in this match. All for the wrong reasons, let's be honest. But basically, Batista came back for the Royal Rumble and he won. We're expected to like this guy. We're expected to get into this guy. We're expected to buy WrestleMania 30 to watch this guy against Randy Orton. These guys are boring. Orton's boring. Batista's boring. Batista sucks on the mic. He was brought back a week before Royal Rumble. He teased about winning it. He then won it. Daniel Bryan didn't win it. They didn't even enter Daniel Bryan into the Royal Rumble match. Batista didn't do anything during the match. He looked tired as hell. He looked tired during this match. But yet, they still keep making him be... They're still going to go with him main eventing WrestleMania 30. The crowd are even more going to shit on it 10 times worse. I mean, people wonder why I hate Batista. I've just given you 10 reasons why Batista is not the man and people shit on Batista. We don't want to see Batista main event WrestleMania 30. He comes back after 4 years and is in the main event of WrestleMania 30. WrestleMania freaking 30. 30 years of WrestleMania 30. And Batista's the man that's main eventing your Super Bowl of the year. Yeah. Batista. I can think of 10 guys off the top of my head I'd rather main event WrestleMania 30 than Batista. But the crowd absolutely shitted on this match. But let's be honest, the build towards this match was pretty good. I mean, the build towards this match was going before Royal Rumble, and they managed to carry on up until Elimination Chamber. The build was good, but every time they built this match, it was always Del Rio which came out on top. Batista that came out on top. They wanted Batista to go into this match with as much momentum as possible. And that's exactly what they did in this match. Batista went into this match as much momentum as possible and came out of this match with decent momentum. Because they wanted to put this guy as strongly as possible going up until WrestleMania 30. Because you've got to believe this guy is winning against Orton. Whether you believe it or not, he probably is. So you've at least got to believe in it. You've got to buy into this feud that's... I'd guess that Orton will probably go into that match with the weakest momentum as possible so that you believe Batista's winning at WrestleMania 30. So it all started here with him winning Royal Rumble and then defeating Del Rio to get some more momentum. Sorry, I have my foot fucking... Anyway, Batista got absolutely shitted on in this match. I mean, this is the first time Del Rio's been cheered in his career. And he's a heel at this time. I mean, that's saying something. There was C chants. C. There was Del Rio chants. When was the last time you heard a Del Rio chant? Even when he was face in January 2013, this guy got cheered out the freaking building. And Batista got booed out the freaking building. There was Batista chants. The crowd absolutely shitted on this match. Thank you, the crowd, for doing this, for expressing what you feel about Batista being in the main event of WrestleMania 30. Because we don't want to see this in the main event of WrestleMania 30. Nobody does. Nobody wants to see Batista main event at WrestleMania 30 against boring Orton. No. And the crowd just shitted on this match. It's going to be 10 times worse at WrestleMania 30. People should turn their backs on this match at WrestleMania 30. If WWE don't change the main event of WrestleMania 30 tonight on Monday Night Raw, I'm done with WWE. They have 3 hours to fix it. I mean, Batista got booed at a B-list pay-per-view at Elimination Chamber in a meaningless match. What are they going to do? The crowd, who have paid their amazing money to fly across the world to WrestleMania 30, how are they going to react when Batista goes in that main event of WrestleMania 30? They're going to boo 10 times worse. Also, the main thing that made me angry was Del Rio carried this match. Batista did not look in good shape whatsoever. He could not hardly stand in this match. He got, one or two moves in this match, which was one, the Spinebuster, and 2, the Batista Bomb, which both looked sloppy as hell. He could hardly stand. He looked out of breath. This is a guy that trained in MMA and is a movie star and looked as out of breath. How is this guy going to main event WrestleMania 30? The crowd absolutely shitted on it the whole way through the match. Del Rio carried the match because Batista could hardly even stand. Yeah, that's right. The guy that's main eventing WrestleMania 30 could hardly even stand for 5 to 10 minutes. And when Batista hit the Batista Bomb, which was sloppy, by the way, the crowd booed, and it just felt like a dissatisfying ending. I mean, Batista spent most of the match on the floor, and then just hit the Batista Bomb and won. it just felt like an ending to a Monday Night Raw match. It didn't feel like a pay-per-view ending. Just a lot of these matches had poor endings. It just felt like that. Ending. It just... no reaction, just boos. It just felt so bad. And people pay their good money for good matches, and they just saw this absolute shite. I mean, the whole match was Del Rio just kicking Batista on the floor. I mean, there was no good spots. Of course, there was no good pace because Batista can't handle that pace. It was just embarrassing. It really was. For a pay-per-view match, to get this match, I'd honestly go back and watch this match again to see how bad this match was. Really, I'd much rather have seen El Torito versus Zack Ryder than this match. Honestly. I mean, if you wanted to put over Batista, at least make him dominate the match. I mean, I wouldn't even have been bothered if it was 2 minutes. If Batista couldn't even have done 2 minutes, if it was a minute match and Batista was the only guy who got the moves in, if he was the only guy who got the offense in on Del Rio, I would have been happy because that would have put over Batista. But this match didn't put over Batista at all because he spent the whole match on the floor. Del Rio was the guy that did most of the moves because Batista could hardly stand. He looked absolutely out of breath. If this match was 30 seconds and Batista was the only guy that got the offense, it would have done his job. The only reason why they booked Batista here was to put over Batista and give him the most momentum possible going into WrestleMania 30. But it didn't do its job because Batista could hardly stand. And he was getting booed so much, it was just impossible for them to give him offense. Because every time he went for a move, he just got booed. And that really just is killing his character. So for me, they'd be so stupid to still make Batista go in the main event of WrestleMania 30. The crowd shit on it. They're going to shit on it even more at WrestleMania 30. He could hardly even stand. They're going to boo every time he gets a move in. They're going to boo if he picks up the title. They're going to boo if Randy Orton retains his title because he's boring. It's just really a recipe for disaster. And this match didn't do its job. It didn't put over Batista at all. Del Rio, he's almost recoverable for a WrestleMania 30 match. I mean, ever since he lost it in October against John Cena for the title, the World Heavyweight title, and now it's been unified, that belt is now useless, and he had a long run with it, so it's kind of downgrades his title run at all, but maybe. I mean, ever since Del Rio lost it October, he's done nothing. He's really not done anything, so it's impossible to build this guy up for a WrestleMania 30 match. His contract's running out in the next 6 months. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he doesn't even make it onto the WrestleMania 30 match card. So for the fact that him to carry the WrestleMania, the match tonight against Batista was a shame because they're not even going to use Del Rio. So for him to carry the match for Batista because Batista couldn't handle a 5 to 10 minute match is a shame because they're not going to use Del Rio at WrestleMania 30. So the fact that he did actually get quite a lot of maneuvers in it was a waste of time. Because it did actually put over Del Rio quite a lot. Because he actually carried the match quite a lot. But apart from that, it did put over his heelish character a lot before the match. Because he came out injured. It looked like he wasn't even going to have this match, Del Rio. Because he came out in a suit and then he just took his suit off and he got his ring gear out. They had to do that because Batista would have got booed even more. Because that put over Del Rio as a heel. They thought maybe they'd cheer Del Rio unless we do this and put him over as a heel by making him come out as an injured, crying baby and then whip off his suit and cheaply attack Batista. He still did that and they still cheered Del Rio and booed Batista. Imagine if they didn't do that. Imagine if they didn't make Del Rio come out in a suit with crutches with a hurt neck and then for him to take off his gear and do that. Imagine if they didn't do that. Del Rio would have got cheered even more and Batista would have got booed even more. They had to do that because they would have shat on that match even more if Del Rio didn't put over a heelish... If he didn't do that heelish trait, I think they would have reacted even worse to Batista. But by doing that, it gave some fans an excuse to cheer Batista and boo Del Rio. But apart from that, this match sucked and really didn't do anything whatsoever. WWE... You are idiots if you still put Batista in the main event of WrestleMania 30. So for me, I'll give that a 1 out of 10. Yeah, I just gave a match 1 out of 10. Now, the last match is the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber match between Randy Orton, Cena, Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, Christian, and Antonio Cesaro. Now, this match was very, very easy to predict. You'd be stupid to think Randy Orton wasn't the one walking out of Elimination Chamber 2014 as the champion. I mean, you've been having the Authority run since SummerSlam 2013. When somebody actually defeats Randy Orton for the title, it's going to be a big moment. It's going to have big build towards it. It's going to have a big fight feel towards it when somebody finally wins that World Heavyweight Championship and defeats the Authority. Because when the World Heavyweight Championship gets defeated and is lost from Orton, it's going to be a big moment. And the Authority are going to be defeated because their hand-picked champion will be defeated. So when the champion, Randy Orton, is defeated for that title, the Authority is pretty much going to end. It wasn't going to happen at the Elimination Chamber. The Elimination Chamber pay-per-view is free on Sky. It's not a big pay-per-view. It's the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania 30. It's really not really seen as a big pay-per-view. So anything happening here wouldn't have felt like a big moment. And it didn't really have build to do with the Authority. It more had build towards making Randy Orton look weak. When that title is actually finally defeated or Orton loses that title, the build towards the match will be to do with the Authority as well as Orton. This feud or match didn't have really anything to do with the Authority whatsoever, so it was obvious that the title wasn't changing hands tonight against Orton. So I wasn't all too surprised when Randy Orton won the title and walked out as the champion. I mean, they've been building Batista versus Orton before Royal Rumble. They even had a stare down in the ring and a promo the week before the Royal Rumble. And they even had a promo last week on Monday Night Raw where Randy Orton was talking shit about Batista behind his back, and then Batista was actually behind him. They're obviously teasing about these guys having a match, so it would be a surprise for them not to do this match at WrestleMania 30. I mean, all that airtime for them building this match between Batista and Orton would have been a waste of time. I mean, you know what you mean. I mean, they've been doing a few promos about each other for the last few weeks. I mean, that airtime would have been pointless if they're not actually going to go with that match. So it would have been a surprise if Orton didn't walk out as the champion, which would have created a cool swerve, but it wasn't happening, guys. Let's be honest. I mean, the Authority, when they get defeated, it's going to be a big match, and this really wasn't a big built match. So, they did do some okay build towards it. They made Randy Orton look quite weak going into this match, which was always going to suggest that he was actually going to walk out as the champion when it actually mattered. But for me, they started off with Sheamus against Cesaro as the first two. They did some nice, okay work, nothing too spectacular. The next guy to come out was actually Daniel Bryan, who was so over as fuck in this match. I mean, everybody lapped this up. The crowd was crazy. It was so good. But Cesaro powerbombed Daniel Bryan through one of the glass pods, and that put over Cesaro quite a lot to put over. That's definitely some heat for Cesaro. I mean, he's been getting a face reaction for the last few months weeks after defeating Randy Orton. He got quite a face reaction and put over on a good match against Cena. He's been getting a face reaction, so to put Daniel Bryan through the pod will cement him as a heel for the time being. And that wasn't actually the first time. Last time they put Daniel Bryan through a pod. But then the next guy to come out after Daniel Bryan, I believe, was Christian. Then, of course, it was John Cena. And then, of course, it was Randy Orton. There was just some great spots during this match. There was a white noise and a rolling senton onto the steel. There was a bro kick to Randy Orton through the pod. Now, Randy Orton hid in the pod after he came out and realised everybody was after him. Bro kick through the pod onto Randy Orton was epic by Sheamus. There was an AA onto the steel. There was another powerbomb to Christian by Cesaro through the pod. And then that was followed up by a move into the ring, followed up by a pin. That was a nice little sequence. There was then a superplex by Randy Orton onto Sheamus, followed up with a Christian leap from one of the top of the pods, a frog splash, which was great. That was when Sheamus was the first one eliminated. I thought it was pretty cool that they had 6 guys all in the ring at the same time, which did actually create for quite an entertaining good 5 minutes. But it ended with Sheamus getting eliminated first. Next was Christian. Then it was Cesaro. then John Cena, and then finally Daniel Bryan. Now, I can't really remember how each guy was eliminated except Sheamus. They weren't really that memorable moments, except probably John Cena and Daniel Bryan's eliminations. I just told you how Sheamus got eliminated. Christian, I can't really remember how he got eliminated. I believe it was from Daniel Bryan's Bukkake kick. Apart from that, I can't remember how Cesaro got eliminated. It wasn't too memorable, so really wasn't a great moment. But I did predict how John Cena was going to get eliminated, setting up that match between the Wyatt family and John Cena. It was kind of weird how the Wyatt family got in there. I mean, how did they actually get in there? It just didn't feel legit that it just went, cheer, and then flashback and they were in the ring. I mean, first, how did they actually get in the cell? And, I mean, yeah, it just didn't feel right for them just to walk in the cell. But anyway, they attacked John Cena. I mean, anybody who isn't a wrestling fan would be like, well, what was the point of that? But yeah, that sets up the match between Cena and the Wyatt family. And you're definitely going to watch Monday Night Raw tonight, guys, to see what the haps is with the Wyatt family against John Cena. So that's a good way to bring guys in to watch the Raw tonight. So you are actually going to watch Raw and see what goes down between Cena and the Wyatt family. Now, definitely teased out a WrestleMania 30 match. I'm not too bad about that. But yet again, Cena isn't defeated from a clean win. I mean, what would have been the problem with Daniel Bryan just getting a clean win on John Cena? But the Wyatt family took Cena out, puts them over quite well. The crowd actually booed the Wyatt family when they did this, so a good opportunity to get some heat as well for the Wyatt family. So yeah, Randy Orton picked up the victory on Cena after the Wyatt family took him out. And that actually got some heat for Orton as well, because it was quite a cheap pin. And then the inevitable happened. I predicted it. I knew Kane was coming. I didn't want to admit it, but I knew Kane was coming. Kane came in the chamber. It was between Daniel Bryan and Orton at the time. And then I knew as soon as Daniel Bryan was attacked Orton and Kane went down for a good minute. And then Daniel Bryan hit the Bukkake kick on Orton. He went for the pin. Orton kicked out. Kane then distracted Daniel Bryan. He got distracted. Went for the RKO. I was like, shit. It's over. He kicked out. I was like, holy shit. Oh my god. He kicked out. Are they really going to do with it? Are they actually going to give the win to Daniel Bryan? Kane seemed out. And then it happened again. Kane distracted Daniel Bryan. He hit Daniel Bryan around the face. And then Randy Orton hit the RKO and picks up the win. We're now going nearly into double figures of the amount of times Daniel Bryan has been screwed out of a main event win by the same thing. Every time he is distracted and then gets hit either by an RKO or something like that. Daniel Bryan, every time, it's the same thing happens every time. Yet again, Orton with an RKO out of nowhere hits it on Daniel Bryan. It was so predictable Kane was going to do this. They'd been teasing it for the last few weeks. RKO out of nowhere. And yet again, he's screwed out of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And Michael Cole screams, oh, they've been doing this since SummerSlam. It's been happening since SummerSlam. Yes, no shit. And you still think we're entertained by Daniel Bryan getting screwed out of a World Heavyweight Championship time after time by the same thing. It's called World Wrestling Entertainment, and they still think we're entertained by Daniel Bryan getting screwed time and time after again. Yes, it was entertaining the first time, but you've done it about 10 times after that, and it got boring after the second time. And now you've done it about 10 times over, where Daniel Bryan gets distracted and loses again a World Heavyweight Championship, and you'll still think we're entertained by this utter shite. It makes me so fucking angry that they have the cheek to do it again. Every time he's screwed one way or the other. He wasn't even in the Rumble match at Royal Rumble. Yeah, we now know it's a work, but yet again, Elimination Chamber, RKO out of nowhere. After a Kane distraction, and he loses. I mean, do you think we're actually entertained by this utter shite? It's going into double figures how many times Daniel Bryan has been screwed over by the Authority. We're not fucking entertained by this shit anymore. How many more times do we have to see Daniel Bryan getting screwed? It's boring. I've never been so dissatisfied in a pay-per-view, and I thought I'd never say that again after Royal Rumble. I mean, the chamber match was good, except the ending. As soon as Kane came in, I was like, yeah, it's happening. And it did. I mean, I thought the first time when Daniel Bryan took out Kane, I got goosebumps because I was like, maybe they will do it. Maybe they will be nice to the fans. Since the WWE Network's out in 12 hours, they need the fans on their side. They need to leave a good taste in the fans' mouth for the WWE Network. If Daniel Bryan wins and picks up the title, fans will be happy. They'll buy the network. They'll be happy. Social media will go berserk. It'll be good for business. So I was like, as soon as Daniel Bryan took out Kane, I was like, holy shit, they might do it. And then no. The inevitable happened. Kane distracted Daniel Bryan. RKO out of nowhere. And he picks up the win. The crowd didn't react. They didn't even boo Randy Orton. They just sat there. Because yet again, we get a boring finish to a pay-per-view. Another unclean finish to a pay-per-view. The WWE Network is 12 hours away, and we don't even get a clean finish to an Elimination Chamber match. RKO out of nowhere. Thanks to a Kane distraction. How predictable was that? Yet again, Daniel Bryan screwed out the championship. Yet again, another boring finish. Yet again, Randy Orton picks up a boring finish when he wasn't even showcased that well through the match. I mean, he's the champion, but he never even puts on much of a match. I mean, he hardly even did much in this match at all. He honestly did. He did the least work out of anybody, and he is still walking around as the champion. Are we still supposed to buy this guy as the champion? Oh, I don't know. That left a bad taste in my mouth after it went off live. I mean, were you guys happy about this pay-per-view? I wasn't. Cody Rhodes and Goldust versus Curtis Axel and Ryback. I can't even remember anything about that match. Big E versus Jack Swagger was a good little neat match, but meaningless. The New Age Outlaws versus the Usos. A roll-up pin on a pay-per-view? The Usos getting a loss when they're so over? Really? Titus O'Neil versus Darren Young? Filler match. The Wyatt family versus The Shield. Fucking awesome. AJ Lee versus Cameron. Meaningless. Batista versus Alberto Del Rio. Booed out of the fucking building. And the World Heavyweight Championship Chamber match. Fucking worst finish in a few pay-per-views. Really, yeah. Yeah. There was only one match I liked on this pay-per-view, and that was the Wyatt family versus The Shield, which was perfect. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and complain that Reigns was the one that got pinned. Fucking perfect match. Great match. Perfection. And it's a shame it was surrounded by an absolutely awful pay-per-view, which was finished by Daniel Bryan getting RKO'd out of nowhere. The WWE Network comes out in 12 hours. What a great way to advertise it, WWE. Not. Thank you for watching my review. Pretty pissed off, I'm not going to lie. That World Heavyweight Chamber match, I'll give it a 3 out of 10. I can't give it a 3 out of 10. Come on, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Apart from the ending, it was a good chamber match. One of the best chamber matches I have seen. Apart from the ending. I mean, it's a chamber match. It's supposed to be locked. And then you somehow have the Wyatt family and Kane make their way into the ring and make an unclean ending. I don't know. Fucking great. Daniel Bryan yet again screwed out the title. Not good. Left a bad taste in my mouth. Ruined another pay-per-view for me. I mean, if Daniel Bryan won that match, I would have actually screamed the house down at 3 in the morning. And I would have been like, best pay-per-view ever. But yeah, I'm sat here thinking, one of the worst pay-per-views I may have seen in a long time. None of the matches were entertaining except the chamber match and the Wyatt family versus The Shield. I've never been so not entertained by a pay-per-view in a long, long time. Even the Royal Rumble had a lot of entertaining matches. TLC, a lot of entertaining matches. Survivor Series, a lot of entertaining matches. There was not a lot of entertaining matches whatsoever. Poor build to a lot of the matches. A few dodgy finishes. The crowd shitted on Batista and Del Rio. A lot of filler matches like Titus O'Neil and Darren Young and AJ Lee versus Cameron. Big E versus Jack Swagger meant nothing. Weird ending to the New Age Outlaws match, and they've actually killed the tag team division. I don't know. What do you guys think? Post in the comments. Hopefully you have in fact enjoyed this video. I'm going to give this pay-per-view a 5 out of 10. The WWE Network comes out in 12 hours. Are you still going to buy it after that shit? Wasn't a very good way to showcase the WWE Network, I tell you. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you have in fact enjoyed the video. This has gone on for way too long. Thanks for watching. Take care. Spite your hair.